Davis, and welcome to the Wellness Woman Show. And hello to all of my Facebook Live fans and all of the Wellness Woman group, and special hello to my audio audience, iHeartRadio and all the platforms. I can't name them all, but you know who you are. Welcome to the Wellness Woman Show on the New Earth Television Network. It's wonderful to be here today, and I'm especially excited because, you know, I always like to try to bring you some information that might make your life a little easier or might give you some aha moments in terms of ways that you can be well in your mind, your body, and your spirit. Before we get started, though, I want to say something real quick. My apologies to Shangela Pierce, all of you fans who have tuned in to watch the show and expecting to see Shangela Pierce. She comes on next week, April 10th. We're going to be talking about the law of attraction and how it impacts your health, especially when it comes to the aging process. So I'm really excited to talk about with her. In the meantime, you can listen to her show that she did on my other podcast series, The Wellness Journey, and that will be posted on all of my fan pages as well as Shangela's. So just wanted to say that real quickly. And now we're going to get on with our show. I was just saying that I like to talk about topics that can help you to live a thriving life in your midlife. And for me, midlife means any time after 40. Now, that means I've been in midlife for almost 21 years. So I don't know what happens when you get to the other side of that. I'm just going to be in midlife forever. I never thought I wanted to be in midlife forever, but, given the alternative, I'd rather stay like in the midlife forever. So for you early midlifers, those of you who are in your 40s, we have a topic we wanted to talk about that might be surprising. Or for those of you who want to get to midlife, who are in your 20s and 30s, and you listen to the show because you're looking forward to the aging process, yeah, right. But you're looking forward to the aging in a healthy way, and that's the reason why you watch my show, because you want tips. We've got something for a broad range of audiences. We're going to be talking about our menstrual cycles and also menopause. I know some people think, how can those two things possibly have anything in common? I mean, one has to do with, the draining thing, and the other one has to do with what happens when you stop draining, so to speak. But there are some correlations, and we're going to talk about that. Today we have with us Patricia Davis, and it says Ella's iPad. Yeah. Ella's iPad is being featured today. Welcome, Ella. We're going to be talking about the aging process as in terms of our menstrual cycles and the things that we can do to help us to be more healthy during our menstrual cycles. But we're also going to be talking about a really fascinating solution just today on the Wellness Woman group. Someone was asking about what can I do with these hot flashes, and she was also asking, when do hot flashes usually start? Now, for me personally, I started with my hot flashes in my 50s, and I don't know if they'll ever end because unless I do certain things, they come back with a vengeance. So there's all kinds of holistic things you can do, but we're going to be talking about that. But first, let me have Patricia Davis and Ella Oli introduce. I'm sorry, how do you pronounce it? Aji. Okay, thank you. Ella Aji introduced themselves. Ladies, welcome to the Wellness Woman Show. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Well, thank you so much, Lennis. First, I want to say I'm just so thankful that you give us this platform that we can speak to women, because there are some things that women just need to be aware of. Of course, my name is Patricia, but I prefer Pat Davis. I am a retired educator, but I call myself a health advocate because I have always been interested in health. And I believe that we need to be proactive so we don't have to be reactive. So there are a lot of things that you can do to ensure that you age gracefully and in a healthy way. So that is my goal. That's my mission, to share information, because as an educator, we are lifelong learners and we just read and read and read. So I have a lot of good information to share.
Yes, and you know what? I have to let everybody know, for those of you who can actually see her live on Facebook and on YouTube and on the New Earth Television Network, Pat looks like she's about 40. And you're, 65 or something like that?
65. I'll be 66 in November.
Wow, you look fabulous. So obviously you are doing something right already. So welcome so much, and I'm so glad that you're passionate about that. I think the first thing about achieving a wellness lifestyle or even moving to a wellness lifestyle is deciding to be passionate about it and then finding out what works for you, because everybody's different. What works for me may not work for you, or some things might resonate better with your spirit for some people and not for others. So it's important to at least know what's out there so that you can make some educated choices. So Ella, tell us a little bit about you and why you're so passionate about wellness and what we're going to be talking about today.
Well, I'm a retired registered nurse.
Okay.
Yes. And so I have had an opportunity to take care of women and, believe it or not, men going through various stages of health. And there were some recent statistics by the CDC that said over 600,000 women have hysterectomies a year.
Wow.
And many of them are between the ages of 35 and 45.
Wow.
And how many of those are unnecessary, you know?
Yes.
And so when Pat introduced me, at first I was like, because I'm older than her, I was like, oh, I don't think I want to get involved. But when I started doing the research, I'm like, oh my goodness, women need to know a lot of information about how to care for themselves naturally.
Okay.
And I have that passion for, because I know what the side effects of medications and how decisions are made to treat. I just have a passion to let women know, like Pat said, that we need to educate ourselves and get educated about what to do to take care of our health.
Okay, well, let's get right to it then. We're going to be talking about menstrual cycles, and as I said before, my audience is anywhere from the age that averages between 45 and 54. Somewhere in there are some menstruating females, and somewhere in there are some menopausal females. And also, though, this is information that I really want to encourage all of you listeners to share with the other loved ones in your life who are female, because I have male listeners too who share information with their wives and stuff, because sharing is caring. I always say that, first of all. But the other thing is that you never know how this information might be able to impact someone's life, or in some cases even save a life. Let's go back to, I guess, about the early 80s, because I had a friend personally who suffered from toxic shock syndrome and almost died from it. So let's start there. Let's talk about what that is and why she might have almost died from it, and what it is we're going to talk about today, how that could have been prevented.
Okay, well, we'll start with tampons.
Okay.
Well, first of all, the body was designed to release toxins. And so on a monthly basis, we know that women ovulate. And it's the choice of products that women use when they are going through their menstrual cycle. So some women prefer tampons. And what a tampon actually does, it kind of blocks what should be flowing out. And so that bacteria that is blocked in gets a chance to reverse and go throughout the reproductive system. And those are toxins that should be flowing out of the body. Now, tampons have a material that has synthetic chemicals in it that is literally inside the body. Tampons can also be bleached, and bleach releases a chemical called dioxin. And dioxin is a known carcinogen, and you can Google dioxin and see all the type of diseases and the type of illness that can result from dioxin. So when you are not allowing that to flow naturally out of the body, even though you know you're blessed because you feel that I'm not going to leak, or I feel like I don't have anything on, literally you are keeping something that should be flowing out, because that lining of the uterus, when that lining sheds, what's in that lining are like eggs that did not make it, fertilized, and it's tissue. So all of that needs to come out of the body, and then when you're blocking it up, it gets a chance to kind of like reverse and get into the system.
You know, you said something really interesting, Pat, that maybe people don't really think about that. The fact that we're supposed to be releasing instead of clogging that stuff up in us, and that is just another form of toxicity. First of all, it's a form of toxicity because you're not releasing those toxins. But then on top of that, what you're using so that your cycle can be more convenient and not, to leak or whatever, is causing even more toxicity. Yes. What happens over time with this toxicity to the body? What is the propensity for you to have other issues?
Well, you're going to have other issues because there's a cumulative effect. The dioxin that's in those tampons and also in pads doesn't leave the body for a number of years, up to 7 years. You can still have that in your body. So if you think about the fact that that's a monthly cycle, and you're wearing these products that are holding in the toxins, and it is getting a chance to get into your bloodstream, and it's cumulative. Because as you know, when we develop cancer, it doesn't happen overnight. It can take over 10 years for that to develop. So if it's not being released and it's staying in the body, it's getting a chance to really cause harm. You may not feel it right away, because you went to the beach and you had a good time, you had your tampon on.
Right.
But years down the road, you will start to see the effects of the body being exposed.
And Ella, as a nurse, what kinds of things have you seen in your experience and as a result of women, taking care of themselves in the traditional way of using tampons? Have you seen any results from that? And what happened? What did you guys do to take care of them?
Yes. And you mentioned toxic shock syndrome.
Yes.
That can actually be deadly. But
yes.
The other things that we experience are the heavy cycles, depression, emotional upsets. And we don't even realize how our families are affected when the woman, head of the household, is not feeling well. Perform on our jobs. Yes. But the fact that then we have to put our bodies through different kinds of medications and treatments. And these medications that we go to the doctor and they prescribe a medication for almost everything. And some of those medications have side effects. And some of those side effects include hormone disruptors, meaning they interfere with our natural hormones, which control our flow, which control our body functions. And we're not aware of those hormones. And we take medication on top of medication. And then we get sick from the medication.
Yes.
And then we get another medication prescribed.
Well, because my understanding is in traditional medicine, most medication treats the symptoms, but it very rarely gets to causation. In fact, traditional medicine, that's one of the issues that I have. Not that I'm dogging your profession, not at all. I think we need AMA. We definitely need nurses and everything else. But one of the problems we have with traditional medicine is that we have a tendency to treat the symptoms when they pop up and not the causation. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the causation in terms of what could be leading women to have the heavy periods, the cramps, and the other complications that come from menstrual cycles. And they're just thinking, oh, well, it's just how I am. I always have cramps, or I always have blues, or I'm always depressed, because there is an answer from what you've been telling me that might be helpful.
Absolutely, because it's not normal. A cycle you should not be experiencing all the things, heavy clots, heavy flows, long, where it's over a week, 2 weeks. So yes, some of these chemicals, some of the dyes that are in some of the products, I don't know if people know this, but there are products on the market that use recycled trash, wood pulp.
Holy Toledo.
Yes, and it is bleached, and it goes through an 8-step process. So it looks like cotton, but it's not cotton. It is recycled trash. And so these chemicals, when we're 98.5 in our temperature in our bodies. So you have a warm, moist place because of, feminine flow and other fluids that may be coming out of the body. And then it's encased in a plastic. So, you don't get any leakage. So that's like a petri dish for bacteria.
Wow.
So not only are you getting these chemicals going direct into your bloodstream, but now you have bacteria that is also formulating there, and which will cause, as Ella was saying, you having to get prescriptions. Some people may notice, some women may notice that after each cycle, they may have what we call a UTI, as a result of sitting on bacteria. So those are the problems, but there is a solution for it. Because you don't have to suffer in silence.
Right, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on and do the show, because I think is, first of all, people need to understand what the trade-off is by using the tampons. And even some pads that they use. That's the first thing. I know there's some pads that are made that you can get at health food stores that are used with different kinds of products and things like that. And there's some things on the market that you can get that are much better for you. And I know that you in particular have a product that you wanted to share the audience with. And I want everybody to know, I'm not necessarily endorsing this product. This is something that you can try to find out more information about. I think it's very important for you to know the choices and things that are out there. And the things that Pat was sharing with me in terms of what this product can do, I felt it was important that you hear about it, and especially for you women over 50, you're wondering why is when it's doing the show doesn't have anything to do with me, and it's supposed to be for, women who are older. But it does, and let's talk a little bit about that. What's the name of your product, and what does it look like, and what does it do?
Okay, well, this is our product. It is called Cherish, Premium Sanitary Napkin. It is a non-toxic napkin, and it has a natural algae strip that is infused with negative ions, far infrared, and nano silver. And I'm going to talk more about that and how that it helps with the symptoms of heavy flows, the smell that you get sometimes. Yes. Yeah. And cramps. And then that cranky mood that Ella was speaking of.
Yes. We can all attest to that, whether we're females or menopausal females or just females, yes.
And so it is called, and now we know, awareness campaign, because we need to educate ourselves. So when we know better, we can do better, and we know that there are safer alternatives out there. And there are different choices, but we're going to talk about this one. Now I'm going to hold, this is a traditional napkin. I'm not calling the name of a product, but it can be found in the store. And if you look at it, you can see there's a difference in the size. This is very bulky. This is very thin, and it's very light. Now, it has about 8 layers in this pad. And in one of the layers is something that's called as the algae strip that is infused. I'm just going to open up so you can see just how thin it is. Also, sanitary napkins are categorized by the FDA as a medical device, which means that they do not have to put on the package what it is made of, what the materials are. Oh. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Imagine that.
A medical device. So you won't know what kind of chemicals you're being exposed to because it's not going to be on the package. Now, this is what each one of these pads looks like, and it has this negative ion strip in it, and it's also soft cotton. So it feels like velvet against your body, okay? So now the negative ion strip is infused with, as I said before, negative ions. And if you're not aware of negative ions, they call them the vitamins of the air because they are naturally occurring in the environment. But wherever there is flowing water, air, sunlight, there is more of an abundance of negative ions. And if you notice, when you go to the beach, you're very relaxed at the beach.
Yes.
Thunderstorm, if you open your window, you sleep very good because there's abundance of negative ions in the air coming in to the room. So the negative ions have the impact where you won't be like really edgy or cranky because negative ions are now getting into the bloodstream and it balances the pH system. So you're very chilled out. So many women who have used this have been having testimonials that, I'm usually pretty moody during that time, but I've noticed that I'm really even toned and I'm feeling really good, okay? Also, negative ions are anti-inflammatory and antibacterial, which means that the bacteria that would normally accumulate is being destroyed by the negative ions. And that's a good thing.
And that's a good thing. Now, tell me that you mentioned something about hot flashes and how these negative do they impact the hot flashes, or how does that work?
Well, from what I'm hearing, the far infrared also helps the circulation of the blood, so you have more oxygen going into those tissues. So, okay, go, Ellie, you want to expound on it?
No, I was just saying that's correct.
Right. Right, okay. All right, so we have had testimony of women saying, I'm noticing that when I wear the panty liners, and these are women who are no longer in their cycles, but they have hot flashes. When I wear panty liners, I am noticing that my hot flashes have decreased, or I'm not having it at all.
Okay.
So I'm thinking it's balancing of the pH system, the inflammation being toned down, and the negative ion just kind of giving you that oxygenation of your tissues, a better circulation, better blood flow.
Okay, and Ella, as a nurse, tell us why inflammation is something that what it is, and why it's important that we get control of inflammation.
Inflammation is actually infection, a fancy name for an infection. Okay. And we all know what happens when we get an infection. Mm-hmm. And we know how dangerous an infection can be because it spreads throughout our body. Yes. Pat mentioned the urinary tract infection. Mm-hmm. Well, with the urinary tract infection, I don't know if you've ever had one or not, but you're sick. Mm-hmm. And the entire body system becomes affected because the inflammation travels through our bloodstream, so it can go to all parts of our bodies.
Right.
And so that's why we want to prevent that opportunity to get inflammation in the first place and get our bodies infected.
Yes, thank you for that. A lot of people don't realize that inflammation is just another word for infection. Yeah. A lot of people think inflammation means you're swollen somewhere, although part of the symptom of being infected is that usually that place does become swollen or whatever. Yeah. Now, Patricia was telling me about someone, I don't know if it was you, Ella, or if it was your friend, Darlene, someone that had a fibroid at one time, a very large fibroid, and it wasn't you. Okay, Pat, tell us that story.
Well, I happened to be walking past a Natural Flow Wellness business, and I went in to speak with the owner. And as I was telling her about the Now We Know awareness campaign, she became very interested because she had suffered with a fibroid tumor that was 22 pounds.
Wow.
22 pounds. And she said her feminine flow was so heavy that she had to wear multiple pads with tampons. Mm-hmm. And eventually became so bad that she had to have surgery because the tumor was pressing on her rectum, and it was really causing her life to be endangered.
Oh, my goodness.
So when she heard about this, she went bananas, the term lightly, because she understood how women suffer with so many fibroids, and doctors really can't tell you why or how these fibroids are developing. And I'm not a doctor, but I know that what doesn't belong in the body can cause harm to the body. So if you are having these chemicals, dyes going into the body, it's a possibility. And I say it because I haven't done the research, but if they can't tell us, then we can still be proactive and lessen our exposure to toxins by making better choices and finding safe alternatives to use during that time of the month.
And, I always say when it comes to our health and how we treat it, we either will pay for it on the front end or the back end. On the front end, you want to be proactive. You want to educate yourself. You want to find out as much information as you can. Get familiar with your family history. Go to the doctor. Get your panels pulled, figured so that you can go to a medical doctor for that kind of stuff, maybe even for diagnosis, and then make some decisions as to whether or not you're going to go to an integrative doctor, a holistic doctor, health coach, wherever you're going to go to get fixed. But the whole idea is about education. And one of the things that you're right about fibroids, there is now a direct correlation between a woman getting fibroids and the level of toxicity that's in her system. And what has normally been the practice with fibroids is paying for it on the back end. Surgery, okay? Removing the fibroids is sometimes removing the uterus, hysterectomies and things like that. I remember my mother back in the 70s when she had my youngest sister, who's 13 years younger than me. So, yeah, this is definitely back in the 70s. And back then it was like a cattle call in terms of the amount of hysterectomies they were giving. Now, because I think there's been more research and more development, but also advocacy. And I think it's really important that we as women advocate for ourselves. I don't believe in going into a doctor's office and just lying there and saying, okay, what's wrong? No, you go in there with questions and with research. And if you have a doctor that has problems with you asking a lot of questions, then it's time to go shopping for another doctor.
Absolutely.
A doctor is just like a pair of shoes. You know, sometimes they look great on the shelf. You put them on, you wear them for about an hour or two. You're like, you know what, these look great, but they don't feel good.
Yeah.
It's okay. Or sometimes the shoes wear out. You know, it's time for some new shoes because your body has changed, your feet have gotten larger, wider, whatever, and you need different kinds of shoes. And that's the same thing with your doctor. Some women get locked into their gynecologist and say, oh, I just love them. I've been going to them for 15 years or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if your needs aren't getting met, then you've got to do the research, much like you, Patricia, and Ella have done with your product. Now, for people who want to find out more about your product, where do they go?
Okay, well, first, to find out more about the Now We Know awareness campaign, you would go to nowweknow.net. And I'm just going to spell it because I could not understand why they had N-O for K-N-O-W because, you know, educator. You know. But anyway.
My teacher, so I get it.
You know, so it is NOWWENO.net. And it was explained to us that the reason why they had the Now We Know, because once you know, you can say N-O.
Got it. Very okay. I get that.
Yes. So I like
nowweknow.net.
That's .net. And then I have a website, and it is for CherishLadies.com, and that's FORCHERISHEDLADIES.com.
Okay, so for CherishedLadies.com. And for those of you who are audio, you may have to play it back a little bit to listen. And for those of you who are listening on the fanbook page or who are listening to a recording on the New Earth Television Network or one of our YouTube channels, there will be a link there that you can click on that will take you to that particular site so you can find out more about this fantastic product, but also just to educate yourself about what the options are. Because, ladies, we don't have to suffer. It doesn't have to be a curse. In fact, being able to have a menstrual cycle is a blessing overall because you imagine what would be going on if we didn't have it. So it's just now finding ways to manage it in a way that still keeps you healthy instead of managing it in a way that causes problems later on. Ladies, thank you so much for being on the Wellness Woman Show. It's been wonderful to have you, Ella and Patricia. Thank you so much.
Right.
I appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who took the time to listen. It's been wonderful to have you. Remember, every Tuesday on the Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond e-magazine fan page on Facebook. We will always be on at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, live. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you again next time.